honorable members, respected speaker ma'am, all rise.
Honorable member, a very good morning to all of you. I welcome you all to the 12th National Youth Parliament session, and I hope this session will be fruitful. We begin today's session with oath or affirmation of our newly elected members. Secretary General, please.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Moini Pawar, who is stand elect from Srinagar constituency of Jammu and Kashmir state, will now take an oath or affirmation. Moini Pawar, please. Ms. Moini Pawar, do you want to take an oath or
I, Moini Pawar, having been elected as a member of lower house of the Youth Parliament, do hereby in the name of God that I will bear to faith and dedication to the Constitution of India, as by a law established, and that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of my country, and that I will faithfully discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter.
Ms. Sarni Naidu, who is stand elect from Hyderabad constituency of Telangana state, will now take an oath or affirmation. Sarni Naidu, please. Ms. Sarni Naidu, do you want to take an oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
In which language would you like to take an oath?
In English. I, Sai Sindhura Naidu, having been elected as a member of lower house of the Youth Parliament, do hereby swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, and that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of my country, and that I will faithfully discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter.
As we meet today, it is my sad duty to inform the House the demise of our former colleague, Shri Suresh Chandra. Shri Suresh Chandra was an agriculturist by profession and an active social worker. He works in rural areas, devoting his time and energy to the welfare of agricultural labor and uplife of backward classes and downtrodden. He was president of Mazdoor Sabha, Mirzapur. An able parliamentarian and an effective orator, he took keen interest in proceedings of the House. He passed away at New Delhi on 30 June 1988 at the age of 35. Prime Minister, please.
जिनकी मौत हम सबके लिए एक बहुत बड़ा सदमा था। एक जवान आदमी जो स्वतंत्रता सेनानी के परिवार से थे, जिनके पिता ने अपना खुद का नाम बनाया था और यह परंपरा इस परिवार ने जारी रखा। वो हमारे साथ आखिरी पल तक थे। जब मैंने यह खबर सुनी तो मैं खुद अचंभित हो गई। He had a bright future before him. I should like to give my condolences to this brave family. Thank you.
Leader of opposition, please.
Honorable Speaker Ma'am. Honorable Speaker Ma'am, I would like to associate myself and my party to tributes paid by you and the leader of the house. I had the privileges to work with Suresh Chandra as a colleague. He was a man with his lovable nature, never annoyed anyone. He was very open-hearted person and very kind-hearted person. We have lost a good person, a good social worker and a political worker in him. I would like to associate myself and my party by sending our condolences to the grieved family.
The House will stand silent for a while to express our deep thanks. Release. Secretary General may convey the message of condolence to the bereaved family.
Yes, ma'am.
Prime Minister will introduce the ministers.
Honorable Speaker Ma'am, I introduce my new minister, Ms. Shreya Thakur, Honorable Minister of Labour.
And now we begin with question number. Question number 101, Ms. Rishika Pachuria.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय जी, मेरा यह प्रश्न माननीय मानव संसाधन विकास मंत्री जी से। कृपया वह यह बताने का कष्ट करेंगी कि जवाहर नवोदय विद्यालय में प्रवर्जन नीति का क्या उद्देश्य है? क्या यह नीति अपने उद्देश्य की पूर्ति करती भी है या नहीं? और यदि नहीं, तो सरकार का इस मामले में क्या राय है?
Honorable Minister of Education.
महोदया जी, जवाहर नवोदय विद्यालय में प्रवर्जन नीति का मुख्य उद्देश्य राष्ट्रीय एकता को मजबूत करना तथा विविध संस्कृति का पारस्परिक आदान प्रदान करना है। मैं यह बताना चाहूंगी कि यह नीति अपने उद्देश्य में काफी हद तक सफल है, लेकिन जब कभी भी इस नीति के अंतर्गत कोई समस्या उत्पन्न हुई है तो उस समस्या का समाधान कर दिया गया है। धन्यवाद।
Supplementary question, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय जी, जहां एक तरफ हमारे देश के सरकारी विद्यालयों की स्थिति बिगड़ती जा रही है, सरकारी विद्यालयों में शिक्षक नहीं है और पढ़ाई के संसाधन उपलब्ध नहीं है, और यहाँ सरकार नई नई योजनाएं लागू की जा रही है, इसमें आपका क्या मत है?
Minister, please.
आदरणीय महोदया जी, मैं यह बात से बिल्कुल असहमत हूँ कि सरकारी विद्यालयों की हालत दिन प्रतिदिन खराब होती जा रही है या सरकारी विद्यालय में शिक्षक नहीं है। पहले तो मैं यह बताना चाहूंगी कि आज भारत में 74% से भी अधिक लोग शिक्षित हैं, जो हमारे प्रयासों को ही बताता है और हम आने वाले दशक में इसे और बेहतर करेंगे। और बात रही शिक्षकों की, तो मैं आपको यह बात से अवगत कराना चाहूंगी कि अभी 50,000 शिक्षकों की भर्ती अभी प्रक्रिया में है। यह तो बात रही शिक्षक तथा शिक्षा की। अब मैं यह बताना चाहूंगी कि महोदया जी, आज के दौर से हम सब वाकिफ हैं और हम यह जानते हैं कि परिवर्तन ही संसार का नियम है, क्योंकि अब तक हमारी नीतियां काफी मायनों में सही तरह सफल रही है, लेकिन सभी को रोजगार देने में हमारी सरकार शिक्षा व्यवस्था में पीछे रही है। इसी कमी को दूर करने तथा और शिक्षा को कौशल को बढ़ावा देने के लिए ही नई नीति लागू की जा रही है। जैसे कि प्रोफेसर यशपाल जी ने कहा है कि आज के भारत का निर्माण हमारी आज की कक्षाओं में हो रहा है। इसीलिए यदि हम अपने देश में सही बदलाव चाहते हैं तो हमें सबसे पहले हमारी इन्हीं चीजों को बदलना होगा। इसीलिए हमारी सरकार का उद्देश्य इसे लागू करना ही नहीं, बल्कि इसे धरातल तक भी सफल बनाना है। धन्यवाद।
Question number 102, Leader of Opposition, Ms. Rishika Singh.
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, क्या माननीय पेट्रोलियम मंत्री यह बताने का कष्ट करेंगे कि हाल ही में सरकार ने पेट्रोल और कई अन्य चीजों के दाम में वृद्धि की है। इसका क्या कारण है?
Honorable Minister of Petroleum.
ऑनरेबल स्पीकर मैम, मैं माननीय सदस्य द्वारा पूछे गए प्रश्न के उत्तर में यह कहना चाहूंगी कि रूस और यूक्रेन में चल रहे युद्ध के कारण अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बाजार में कच्चे तेल के दाम काफी बढ़ गए हैं, जिसके परिणाम स्वरूप तेल कंपनियों का घाटा भी बहुत अधिक बढ़ चुका है। इसके अतिरिक्त मैं माननीय सदस्य को यह भी सूचित करना चाहूंगी कि पेट्रोल और डीजल की कीमतों का निर्धारण बाजार दर के आधार पर किया जाता है, क्योंकि पेट्रोल और डीजल की कीमतों को सरकार द्वारा रेगुलेट कर दिया गया है। महोदया, मैं यह भी कहना चाहूंगी कि वृद्धि की है, किंतु यह वृद्धि विशेष रूप से पेट्रोलियम पदार्थों में की गई है। अन्य आवश्यक वस्तु की कीमतों में वृद्धि कदापि नहीं की गई है और इसका मुख्य कारण अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बाजार में भारी वृद्धि है। मेरे विचार से यह सरकार द्वारा ग्राहकों को समय पर दी जा रही छूट का भी परिणाम है। तेल पुल के घाटे को नियंत्रित करने के लिए मूल्य वृद्धि की गई है। धन्यवाद।
Supplementary question please.
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, क्या पेट्रोलियम मंत्री यह बताने का कष्ट करेंगे कि इस मूल्य वृद्धि से हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था बुरी तरह प्रभावित हुई है अथवा नहीं? क्या इस मूल्य वृद्धि से पहले उन्होंने सभी पहलुओं पर ध्यान दिया था? क्या इस बात पर विचार किया था कि देश में पड़ रहे सूखे की स्थिति में इस मूल्य वृद्धि से निम्न वर्ग के लोगों पर क्या असर पड़ेगा?
Minister please.
अध्यक्ष महोदया, अपोजिशन लीडर द्वारा पूछे गए प्रश्नों के उत्तर में मैं यह कहना चाहूंगी कि सरकार ने अवश्य ही अर्थव्यवस्था के सभी पहलुओं पर विचार किया है। यह निर्णय हमारे पूरे मंत्रिमंडल द्वारा लिया गया है। महोदया, मैं यह भी कहना चाहूंगी कि सरकार ने निम्न तथा मध्यम वर्ग की आवश्यकताओं का पूरा ध्यान रखा है। उनकी आवश्यकताओं को ध्यान में रखकर कई बड़े कदम उठाए हैं, जैसे पेट्रोल पदार्थों में हुई मूल्य वृद्धि के बावजूद भी सरकार ने जन परिवहन के किरायों में कोई वृद्धि नहीं की है। एलपीजी पर आज भी 70% सब्सिडी दी जा रही है। सरकार डीजल के मूल्य की डबल प्राइसिंग पर भी विचार कर रही है। आयकरदाताओं के अतिरिक्त जन सामान्य की पुरानी दर पर ही राशन वितरित किया जा रहा है। धन्यवाद।
Out of about 141 million hectares of net area shown in the country, only an extent of 65 million hectares, 46% is currently covered under irrigation. Substantial dependence on rainfall makes cultivation in remaining areas a high risk and a less productive profession. When the government is busy in favoring industrialists, what are they doing for the helpless farmers to improve irrigation? Thank you.
Honorable Irrigation Minister.
Honorable Speaker Ma'am, I would like to inform Honorable Opposition that government is committed to accord high priority to water security. Ma'am, we have conceived Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana in order to extend the coverage of irrigation in focused and comprehensive manner. Ma'am, ये तो रही बात कि आज तक हमने किया ही क्या है। इसके अलावा आप 2014-15 के बाद स्पीच उठाकर देख लीजिए, जिसमें हमने हजारों करोड़ों रुपए लोगों की तरक्की के लिए लगाए हैं। शायद हमारी मेंबरान साहिबा को खबरों से ज्यादा स्टार प्लस का शौक है, इसलिए हमें इस बात का इल्म नहीं है कि हमने हाल ही में एक मीटिंग फिक्स की थी, जिसके दौरान मिनिस्टर ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर को नोबल डिपार्टमेंट में दर्जा देने की बात कही गई है। धन्यवाद।
Question number 104, Ms. Ashwini Gujre.
Respected Speaker Ma'am, Indian economy is gripped by unprecedented inflation. The Indian inflation rate in India is increased to the 7.79% in April of 2022, the highest since May of 2014. The inflation is stayed above the 2% to the 6% tolerance limit of the Central Bank of the fourth month in a row. Can the Honorable Finance Minister be pleased to state that what are the measures have taken in this regard to cool down the prices?
Honorable.
To bring down the prices, we have taken the following steps. We have announced an excise tax cut of 8 rupees per litre on petrol and 6 rupees per litre on diesel. We have also reduced the import duty on key raw materials and inputs for the steel and plastic industry. We have levied export duty on some steel products and raised it on iron ore and concentrates. Together with the import duty cut, the prices of steel will come down. During the current and next financial year, the government has permitted duty-free imports of 20 lakh tons of crude soybean and crude sunflower oil. Under the Ujjwala Yojana, we have also granted a 200 rupees per cylinder subsidy up to 12 cylinders per year. The government set a limit of 100 lakh tons on sugar exports to ensure that there is enough stock when the sugar season begins in October to cover 3 months' worth of consumption. Thank you.
Question number 105, Ms. Urgi Yadav.
Respected Speaker Madam, the last position on identification of tourism circuit, the initiatives to bring them up to international standard, if that is not possible at last to a level acceptable to tourism.
Honorable Minister of Tourism, please.
Respected Speaker Ma'am, the Minister has identified 50 circuits for development of tourism in the country, covering a mixture of culture, heritage, spiritualism and ecotourism. Significantly, Kashmir circuit, Beach circuit and Fort circuit. We have formulated a plan, Swadesh Darshan, for integrated development of tourist circuits. Around specific themes, the 5 circuits identified under the scheme including Buddhist circuits, Himalaya circuits and many more. Also through its international offices, the Ministry has participated in major international travel fairs and exhibitions in major and potential tourists generating religions across the globe. Also, the Ministry is committed to develop quality infrastructure at tourist destinations and circuits. The Ministry has sections 18 crore rupees for projects related to infrastructure development of destinations and circuits. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Priyanshi Soni.
Honorable by the member of the ruling party. Day before a serious and confidential issue relating to the foreign policy of India. Towards its neighboring country discussed was dragged into media and now has become a chaotic debate. Honorable Speaker Madam, before the side put forth any of their developmental project and discriminate in the GDP. Let them get to know about the rule, regulation, norm, discipline and decorum of the parliament and let them not make the people ashamed of whom they choose to be their parliament.
Ms. Priyanshi Soni, have you given notice of it earlier?
Yes ma'am, I given notice of it at the 10 a.m. this morning.
It will be examined. You will know about it. Now paper to be read. Honorable Minister of Renewable Energy, Shriman Harshit Sharma.
Hello. Honorable Speaker Ma'am, I have to lay on the table copy of the paper related to reports. Identification of industrial sector promising of commercialization of solar energy. Market assessment of solar water heating in Himalayan region. Delhi International Renewable Energy Conference.
Honorable Minister of Human Development, Ms. Neha.
lay down following. E. Report of Working Group of Subcommittee of National Development Council. B. Report on Technology Mission on Oilseeds and Pulses. C. Report on Integrated Nutrient. Thank you.
Secretary General to report message Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament.
Ma'am, I report the following message received from Secretary of the Upper Chamber of the Youth Parliament. Is that the Bill of Regulation of Sport Bodies 2022, which the government passed in the last session, has been ratified and is ready to be sent presidential approval.
Honorable Member, I have to make an important announcement on my own behalf and on behalf of the Honorable Members of the House. I have great pleasure in extending our warm and hearty welcome the Honorable Members of British Parliament delegation who are visit to India as our honored guests. It is very high-powered delegation. The delegation arrived on Sunday, 21st August 2022. They are now seated in the special box. We wish them happy and comfort stay in our country. And now, let us take a calling attention motion. Ms. Rajashree Bharira.
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय जी, जैसा कि आप सभी ने चाइना का सामान तो इस्तेमाल किया ही होगा। चाइना अपना सामान सस्ते में देता है ताकि लोग लालच में आए और सामान खरीदे। ये सामान खरीदने से भारत का पैसा चाइना में जा रहा है। तो मैं हमारी सरकार से यह पूछना चाहूंगी कि सरकार ने कोई नीति अपनाई है जिससे भारत का पैसा चाइना में ना जा सके। यदि नहीं तो क्यों नहीं?
Honorable Prime Minister.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, हम इस संबंध में कार्य कर रहे हैं। ऐसी नीति बनाई जा रही है ताकि चाइना के सामान को पूर्णतः रोका जा सके। इसी परिप्रेक्ष्य में हम स्टार्टअप इंडिया को बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं, साथ ही छोटे छोटे उद्योगों को बढ़ावा दे रहे हेतु सामान सस्ते स्तर पर उपलब्ध कराया जा रहा है। धन्यवाद।
ऑनरेबल स्पीकर मैडम, इस सरकार ने आज तक कोई भी काम ढंग से नहीं किया है। ये महज लोगों को बड़े बड़े वादे करते हैं और उनके इमोशन के साथ खेलते हैं। ऑनरेबल स्पीकर मैम, इस सरकार ने ना एजुकेशन पे, ना हेल्थ पे, ना एग्रीकल्चर पे किसी भी चीज में कोई भी काम नहीं किया है। वी वांट नो मोशन ऑफ कॉम्पिटेंस टू बी ग्रांटेड।
Motion move. Those who are in favor of government, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against the government, please say nay.
Nay.
We have 51 ratio 49, and I think yeah have it, the yeah have it, the yeah have it. Honorable Minister of Law to introduce the bill.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I beg to move for a leave to introduce a bill further to amend the law relating to the
The question is that the leave be granted to introduce a bill further to amend the Motor Vehicle Act. Those who are in favor, will please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against, will please say nay.
Nay.
I think ye have it, the ye have it, the ye have it. Leave is granted.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I introduce a bill.
Now, the House will take up consideration of the Police Force Bill 2022. Minister, please.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am. I beg to move the Police Force Bill 2015 and act to consolidate and amend the law relating to the establishment, regulation, powers and duties of the police service and for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. Ma'am, the very foundation of our nation is based on rule of law of all the three organs of governance. Law is held to be supreme and most powerful, be it the executive, the legislature, or the judiciary. No one is held above the law laid down in the constitution of our country. While judiciary acts as the watchdog of rule of law, it is the police force which is the guardians of law and order in the society. The police force is the protector of law on the field. The legislature may pass bill into laws. The court may issue the orders. The executive head may come up with the policy documents and direction. But it is a man in uniform who acts as the spirit of this letter. Without the police, nothing can withstand the chaos of diversified nation, which has a unique blend of culture, language, tradition and religion like of ours. It is the constitutional obligation of the state to provide an impartial and efficient police service and empower it in such a manner so that it functions as an efficient, effective, people-friendly and responsive agency. Since the independence of our police force has largely remained based on the traditional method of crime prevention and detection. While as our country entered an era of digital age, effective cyber policing still remains a distant dream for India. With changing times, new challenges have emerged on the forefront. India is now no longer a legacy of British colonial rule but an emerging superpower which wishes to enlist itself in the UNSC by year 2020. As companies, individuals and researchers flow into this subcontinent and police force needs to equip itself with dual role of providing due consideration of basic human rights to the foreign entities and also pay policies and methods which priorities the security of the nation as well. Terrorism, illegal drug and human trafficking, money laundering and covert uprising, human rights violence are such crimes which can jurisdiction of national and international boundaries. They are the challenges which require a more holistic approach from police force as first responders to any such eventuality. Ma'am, in order to cope up with the challenges that 21st century present to our nation, there is an urgent, emergent and independent need to recognize the police force to our nation and make it more professional, service-oriented, independent of extraneous influences and accountable to law. The government has brought forward the bill before this August House because we believe it is the most appropriate time that police force is vested with specialized powers and finance so that these challenges can be dealt with an iron hand. Some of the important features of this bill which are present forward for the kind consideration of the respected House including the following. Ma'am, the main objective of this bill is to codify and amend the law relating to the establishment, regulation, powers and duties of police service in our country. Addition to the existing duties and functions, the bill mandates social responsibility to the police, example, providing all the requisite assistance to a victim of crime or to persons found in hopeless condition is now mandatory provision and duty upon a police officer and he or she will irrespectively of medical legal formalities have to necessarily provide it. The police officer is also required to inform and make arrangement for providing free legal aid to the deserving persons persons. The chapter also prohibits the use of incident language or any misbehavior by the police personnel during the discharge of the duty. The police officers are also required to maintain a proper standard of their health and robust physique. A periodical determination of such standards will be conducted and any persons falling to which satisfy the standards shall be terminated from service. Ma'am, the Act also provides the police officers to make a keep audio or video or electronic records of any activity performed by them during the discharge of their duties and evolutionary step, as I believe it is for the first time that government machinery is being put under camera surveillance for 24 hours and 7 days along the year. Another provision of this bill provides for community policing in which a civil society committee will be constituted in such police station, which will comprise of local residents assisting the police in discharge of their duty. We believe a step will foster an era of police-public partnership, which is still a distant dream for our country. Ma'am, as I mentioned earlier, there is an immediate need to modernize the police force, and our government wishes to initiate it by modernizing the police station itself. The police first refused that a victim has is that of a police station, and therefore this bill is mandates that every police station in our country be equipped and adequate manpower and infrastructure facilities, which include medical care, food sector and observatory. Also proper arrangements for details be made, and the lockup shall be upgraded to minimum human condition. In addition to above mentioned provision, every police station shall accommodate a separate cell of legal aids, women cell, and satisfy custody of juveniles, including separate cyber crime cell. All these facilities shall be verified by the chairperson and member of the State Human Rights Commission on a periodical basis. The bill also mandates that during the training and capacity building of personnel for the police force, subjects such as human rights and cyber forensics will be made compulsory for a fellow to pass such courses shall lead to disciplinary action, which includes stoppage of promotion, demotion, or in extreme cases, termination from services. The most striking feature of this bill is the constitution of all India Police Complaints Authorities, which shall examine, inquire, and adjudicate into complaints of misconduct and malpractice against a police officer. As citizens, we are very well aware of the ground realities that must prevalent in our country. The long list of records of pending cases in the court of our country discourage a common man from bringing any action against a cop. Then there is fear of harassment, as the famous saying goes, "Pani mein rahkar, magar muझसे बेल नहीं." But when the protector becomes invited itself, there remains no option but to create a separate authority for the disposal of such complaints. At an earliest time, the All India Commission Police Complaints Authority as a by this bill is the incarnation of such supra-authority in letter and spirit. Now the common man can have false opposal to this complaints against the khaki. As once a complaint is lodged against the cop in question, he or she shall be stripped from his powers in the same assistance and required to report with the so-called notice. For the effective application of this provision, the police complaints authority shall be constituted on state and district level as well, ma'am. It has never been the good law or lawmakers which have protected the sanctity of governmental institutions, but effective and honest enforcement of law has always made with difference. It is not the judge sitting in the courtroom, nor the bureaucrat, or not the legislature who rushes to the spot or coordinates the public law and the order in the field. It is the ordinary constable wearing a khaki cloth and swinging a bamboo stick who represents all these organs as one man army, and I hope this bill will help in initiating the much awaited discharge needed in this 3-in-1 representation of ours. That will be all. Thank you, Speaker Ma'am and respected members.
I am confident that all honorable members of the House, irrespective of party affiliation, believe in that fact that the country is in dire need to be reformed, and therefore will welcome the bill wholeheartedly, and through it will help to the rise of the standard of our police force came to that developed nation. With these words, I now move that bill, Police Force Bill 2022, be taken into consideration. Ms. Kritika Pal, enlighten the House with your views.
This is one of the vital organs of the executive, which holds a pivotal role in maintaining law and order in society. And for that matter, there should be partiality in the functioning of the police department. The legislature that this government has come up in connection with police reforms in monstrous, inadequate, toothless, and has a larger scope of mismanagement. Some of the provisions are in fact contrary to the Constitution of India. Honorable Speaker, Madam, it seems that this bill has more in it for the government than for common people. It gives government power to interfere in police proceedings an unconstitutional way. It is a mockery of democracy that the government has no knowledge of constitution. Coming up with such a vague legislation is just unacceptable. The legislation is a fraud on the constitution itself. This bill hides more than its reliefs. Opposition vehemently opposes this bill and demands amendment to some provisions so that the cyclone this bills with the Constitution of India and public interest. Until our demands and our amendments are not met, we won't let this bill to be passed. Government of controlling police wants form an autocratic setup which will serve their own personal benefits. Section 10, which says police officers to keep the information confidential, is against the ideology of democracy. Police, being a part of government, cannot be allowed to work in secrecy. All the materials, statements, evidences, informations collected in course of official duty by any PO immediately becomes a public document and is to be placed in public domain. It will be prejudiced to the interest of general public. S22 glorifies police brutality. The section while describing the procedure to handle the injured person in custody clearly mentions the word physically injured people due to the force used by police officer. Are we supposed government has given free hand to police to use force, we ask government to explain this phrase. Have they given free hand to police against the occurs in the police lockups? The most dangerous, presbyterious section of this bill in section 62, which lays down the procedure to form village defense committees for the protection of inhabitants of that particular village. It is a shame that police itself can't protect the interests of the masses. If the people themselves are to protect their interests, then what is the need of police itself? Under the social contract of democratic people surrender some rights to government. It is the duty of government to protect those rights like social security and protection. If we are to protect ourselves on our own, then what's the fun of elected government? And moreover, the procedure of elect the members of PDC is not laid in the bill, which gives room for discretion. Section 53 to 56 again gives wide powers to high-ranking officials in case of posting and promotions, with this internal system of working giving rise to the rampant corruption in the system, and with no proper procedure is laid, which makes it all the way more vague and controversial in nature. Section 120, which bars the complaint after 6 months, and it is again controversial. It is against the fundamental rights, and there is no scope for reasonable delay in filing complaints. Section 101, which lays down the member of SPCA is again a fraud on the people of the state. Only one person, the chairman, is from the judiciary, rest all of the members are appointed, but the government, which gives complete control to the government. It gives government power to influence the proceedings of the committee. This hits the neutrality of the committee. This gives government power to save and officers they want. The main leeches in this part of the bill are section 102 and 105. 102 says the chairperson is to be appointed by the government with constitution of CI, but section 105 gives government to remove chairperson unilaterally. This again gives government a power to control the committee. Section 107 lays the provision, says on whose complaint action may be taken against the officer. First, a victim. Second, NHRC. Third, DG Police. It's strange to see that no mention of judiciary in this section. To avoid any confusion, the judges should also be included to maintain the effectiveness. Chapter 10 deals with the complaints against the PO. The part is authoritatively in nature. Government has kept all the powers to itself and thus deterred the neutrality and partiality of the SPCA. Section 107 maintains the procedure of interdepartmental inquiry, which prevents the system of check and balance. The absence of any independent authority to check the neutrality and partiality makes this whole chapter ineffective. Opposition demands the inclusion of judiciary in this section. We purpose the idea of a panel of 2 sitting SC judges to look into the functioning of the SPCA and DPCA. Opposition rejects any step or idea to make the police the puppets in the hands of government. This bill, Speaker, ma'am, will affect the image of police in the mind of masses, will create distrust among the general public. Until these amendments are not made, there is no question of allowing this bill to pass. Let me be clear. Police is there for the help of the public and not for the government personal use. This bill is prepared in such a manner as to keep police under the clutches of government. We won't let that happen. We will fight against any attempt by the government to dilute the structure of the police.
Honorable Minister of Home Affairs.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, it is indeed a learning experience for me to listen to the vibrant inputs of all the members of this parliament, both the supporters and critics equally. Ma'am, the first issue that I would clarify upon is that Dr. Rajpal, police person, as pointed out by Kritika Pal in his furious speech. Ma'am, the honorable opposition member is forgetting about the two subsequent pay commissions that stand implemented as of today. The police personnel along with other government employees have been provided a multifold rise of basic pay along with other amenities such as DA, TA and HRA. The Comptroller Auditor General's report for the year regarding the reservation has held by the opposition regarding the violation of constitutional rights by making the permission of police officers necessary prior to holding any seat in our protest. It is humbly submitted to opposition. Kindly, ma'am, don't give us lecture regarding the violence or sensitivity. Of Constitution, it was your government that has stopped by Honorable Supreme Court for passing such acts which were ultra-wise to Constitution. Our government believes that protest is a constitutional right and we respect the freedom to hold and organize such protest. But ma'am, the protest at the cost of human life as public order, such things can't be tolerated or taken into consideration. There have been various instances when a peaceful protest turned into a riot and then police was accused of being negligent towards their duty. This provision is a precautionary measure to thwart any such event which could turn into an ugly situation and cause huge losses of government exchequer. In terms of public property and other utilities, if police is kept in loop with such protests which are peaceful and don't harm any interest, I don't feel that such a move will cause any violation to a constitutional right. In his address to this august gathering, Sri criticized many provisions of this bill on the pretext of non-inclusion of judicial accountability. In section 101 and 107 is the respected opposition member forgetting the fact that judiciary in our country is already overburdened with almost 4 crore cases still pending. These provisions are included to provide some relief to common man from the pendency of courts. And if the road opposition thinks that by bringing in such an amendment to force which will frustrate the basic purpose of this provision, then they are grossly mistaken. Our government will never compromise on the stand of providing fast and efficient
partial justice to common masses. The Honorable Opposition Member also raised the contention regarding Section 120, which expressly prohibits the filing of complaint after 6 months. This, I again believe, is a step to ensure judicial awakening along the masses. An event which has occurred 2 or 3 years ago should not bother the efficient functioning of police force. And if such a thing is allowed, then we should stop complaining about the overburdening of police department and subsequent delay in investigation and disposing of cases. I humbly request the House to consider the fact that since independence, a lot of things have changed in our administration and governmental processes. We have achieved the status of a developing nation and are set to become a developed one in coming decade. Our country is the only country among the developing nation across the world which was being able to send an expedition to Mars, and yet when we look down to the protectors of our society and inculcate the images of a man which a stick and cell made of bamboo wood. The same police act which controlled this department in colonial period is controlling it now. This bill is freedom from that colonial aspect. It is the first step that we was the protector and makers of law have to take if we want to succeed as a nation in times to came. It is a humble request to everyone present in this house to strengthen the police force of our country by assigning his or her assent to this bill. I request the House to pass the bill. Thank you.
The question is that the bill to complete the act, the law relating to the establishment, regulation, power and duties of police service and for matters to be taken into consideration. Those who are in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those who are against will please say nay. Nay. I think ye have it, the ye have it, the ye have it. Motion is adopted. Now the question is that section 101 and 107 stand part of the bill. There is one amendment of section 101 and 107 by Kritika Pal.
No, ma'am. In view of the reply given by the minister, I am not pressuring my amendment.
Now, the question is that section 101 and 107 stand part of the bill. Those who are in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those who are against will please say nay. Nay. I think ye have it, the ye have it, the ye have it. The motion is adopted. Section 101 and 107 stand part of the bill. Now, the question is that chapter 10, the enacting formula of and the title stand part of the bill. Those who are in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those who are against will please say nay. Nay. I think ye have it, the ye have it, the ye have it. The motion is adopted. Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, please.
Ma'am, I move the bill be passed.
Motion moved that the bill is passed. Those who are in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those who are against will please say nay. Nay. I think ye have it, the ye have it, the ye have it. Motion is adopted.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I move the following resolution. This House recommends that the government should bring in the Prevention of Torture Act as a full-fledged legislation to prevent the inhuman treatment of detainees and prisoners. As we all know that India is signatory to the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman and Degrading Treatment or Punishment, as adopted by United Nations General Assembly on 19th of December 1975, and India signed at the same on 40th of October 1997. There are many reasons, events and unwanted casualties which are behind the introduction of this bill. Some of the which are torture is undemocratic and violates the fundamental principle of criminal jurisprudence. Second is Bengal State Prisoners Act of 1818 and Defence of India Act of 1939 should not have been continued even after dawn of independence, as such laws are ultra-biased to Chapter I of the Constitution. Such recourse is repugnant to the spirit and mandate of Article 21 and 22 of the Constitution of India. According to National Crimes Record Bureau, under the Ministry of Home Affairs, 1,060 prisoners died in 2003, 1,169 in 2004, 1,387 prisoners died in 2005, and 1,424 prisoners died in 2006. According to the report of the same Bureau, recording the death taken place between 2000 and 2010. On an average every year, 1,046% died in police custody and 136% died in judicial custody, with increase in custodial killings each year. Although some provisions relating to the matter exist in LPC, yet they neither define torture as clearly in Article 1 of the Convention, nor does it make it a criminal offence, as called by Article 4 of said Convention. In such circumstances, it is necessary for the ratification of the Convention so that the domestic laws of a country are brought in conformity with it. The matter has been examined at length in consultation with the Law Commission of India and LD Attorney General of India. After considerate deliberation on the issue, it's decided to bring stand-alone legislation so that the aforesaid convention can be ratified. The important provisions of this bill are as follows. Whoever being a public servant or being abated by a public servant or with the consent or acquiescence of a public servant intentionally does any act for the purpose to obtain from him or any third person such information or a confession which causes, first is, grievous hurt to any person or danger to the limb or health, whether mental or physical, of any person is said to be inflict torture. Exception provided that nothing contained in this section shall apply to any pain, hurt or danger aforementioned caused by any act which is inflicted in accordance with the procedure established by the law of justified by law. Second is, where the public servant or any person abated by or the consent or acquiescence of such public servant tortures any person. First is, for the purpose of extorting from him or from any other person interested in him any confession or any information which may lead to the detection of an offense, misconduct, and on the ground of his religion, race, place of the birth, residence, language, caste or community or any other ground whatsoever, shall be punishable with imprisonment of either for a term which may extend to 10 years, shall also be liable to fine, notwithstanding anything contained in the producer 1973. अरे हमारी बात तो सुन लीजिए. No court shall take cognizance of an offence under this bill unless the complaint is made within 6 months from the date on which the offence is communicated. Thank you.
Resolution moved by my Lord Member, and through you, I would like to congratulate him for bringing forward this resolution. It is an undeniable fact that the prison system in our country has been associated with committing of many atrocities across the nation.
among improper medical care, unhygienic food, lack of adequate spacing and unavailability of basic amenities, torture figure on top of such atrocities. The laws and regulations governing the conduct of the prison authorities is insufficient and does not include the modern applications which are in consonance with international standards. It is in this spirit that I associate my support to the proposed resolution and wish that such act is brought forth without any further delay. Thank you.
Honorable Leader of Opposition, Ms. Rishika Singh.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I would rise to oppose the bill on torture that government has tabled in the House, since this bill is vague and lack of clarity. This bill just appeared to a formality by UN Convention to maintain cosmetic beauty of international relationship which India has been maintaining with developed nations when it should have been a serious scrub of atom and nuisance. The torture become the order of the day in Indian jails. Our country, being the world's largest democracy, has elongated and inspired them toward the path of tolerance and unity in diversity. As such, the very idea of torture is a setback to those fundamentals. The bill should have been constituted keeping such things in mind. Honorable ma'am, let me point out the errors and the weakness in this bill, which should have been taken into account before implemented. In section 3 words, such information or a confession should be constituted with words unlawfully to give it a broader notion. In section 5, the bill is a blow of the concept of natural justice, a slap on the face of judiciary and disrespect to the judges. The section makes it compulsory for court to take action only when a written complaint is made. The court should be given power to take suo motu action if the judge has a reason to believe that a person who has under in custody and tortured and under trial, police custody for fear may not revile the torture to the judge, and a judge in that situation is not supposed to act till under complaint is made. I will conclude by saying that this bill is unconstitutional, truthless, and it is not going to serve the purpose as intended. By saying that the bill is in the form of with crux on the powers of the court, it will aid rather than prevent the heinous crime of torture in India.
Honorable Minister of what is your movement?
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I extend my sincere thanks to Rishika Singh for bringing forth of the notice of the House. This is very serious issue of prevention of torture in Indian jails that has become a national shame for our country. The government has tried to make a difference time and again by amending the act which controls the administration of prison functions. Our government since past many years have been successfully running the scheme of self-employment in various prisons, and it makes me proud to announce that national-wide revenue of 36 crores have been generated through these schemes. It is also noteworthy that of the most International Committee of Red Cross in its annual report of jail visit as enlists Indian prison as one of the most habitable and up-to-date prisons among developed nations. The government is indebted to Rishika Singh for highlighting that issue. However, our government is already mulling a new bill in this regard and would definitely be including this point in this bill. I will therefore request the Honorable Minister to withdraw the bill. Thank you.
Respected Sarni.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I am grateful to the Honorable Ministers to be generous enough to support the bill, and in view of the reply given by the Minister, I am withdrawing my bill.
Motion that the bill is withdrawn. Those who are in favor will please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against 50 say 9. I think the year have it, the year have it, the year have it. The bill stand to draw. The House is adjourned to meet at 11 a.m. tomorrow.